Is there a character named Rusty?
It's one of the automatas.
The first days of spring have come, and beyond the Colderath Mountains and the quiet forest on the eastern coast, there's a small town called Shepherd's Inn. Amongst the lush farmlands and rolling hills, windmills, and jagged coast. There are ships in the harbor, gulls cawing above. A clumsy automaton carries a box across a field, across the docks. Another in a field with a plow in hand. There are children playing in the streets, people gathered at the big round hearth at the center of town. The day is growing late, and a group of young people are finishing their chores, getting ready to head to the bonfire to meet at the end of the day. Let's take a visit to each of these characters, have a little glimpse of what they're up to. So whatever order you guys feel like going, just give us a little vignette of a little bit of your character's day.
Beth is at the place where the mail goes. I forgot the name of the location.
Post and Parcel.
Post and Parcel. She's at the Post and Parcel. She's before she walks through the door. She's around the corner, and she kind of lifts her cap and takes a cloth out of her breast pocket and wipes her brow and hides the sweat. Okay, yeah, everything got there mostly on time. It's fine. And she walks through the door and just kind of nods to the parcel officer, Simon. She walks straight to the back, hangs up her hat, takes off her uniform jacket, pops on a vest, and says, "Yeah, that was good." She nods again to him on the way out the door and avoids any kind of conversation. Does she make it out the door without talking to him?
Yeah. You guys are just doing your vignettes. We won't do interactions.
She heads out the door with a smile on her face, and she's gonna go search for her friends.
The train horn rings out across town, and Orthocles Feldspar looks up at Esmond with a grin and raises an eyebrow. No words are exchanged, but they immediately start sprinting towards the tracks, towards the sound of the train, jumping over puddles, over stalls, past confused market goers and vendors who yell and shake their fists as they cause chaos sprinting through town, trying to be the first to sprint across the tracks before the train goes by. Orthocles Feldspar smiling the whole way.
Can you remind us what time of day it is, Chris?
It's kind of ambiguous because you get to kind of sort of set the scene, but this is taking place throughout kind of this day.
Seyfried is a sort of a breeze rustles through her sister's farmhouse, and Seyfried can be heard just outside the door in the field as she's romping around with her two toddler nieces, tackling these squealing fluffy bundles of joy and playfully kicking them and wrestling with them, her big ears perked up and listening, making sure she doesn't lose track of one in the grasses.
Salinger is at the docks wearing a pair of big knee-high, like water boots, galoshes, overalls. Kind of a mess, mop of hairs. He's cleaning up some stuff that fell out of some crates that were being offloaded today. Finishing up in the mid-afternoon. Pretty quiet about it. Docks have been quieter since people have left over the past few months. Finishes up, scoots the last of the cargo out of the way, knowing it's going to be packed up. Watches last of the workers start to head out for the afternoon. Pulls off the overalls, wearing a nice shirt underneath. Well-cut pants, kicks off his boots. He's already wearing nice shoes, slicks his hair back to the side. Gives a grin, shrugs his shoulders, and starts heading off towards one of the taverns where his mom's going to play this evening. Whistling.
At the Wanderlust Tavern, finishing up her shift is Peach. It's sort of between lunch and dinner, but there are a few regulars that are there, and she knows to play good hostess, and also that people spend time here just during the day. So she's sort of serving food, she's sort of tending bar, she's sort of flirting with the boys, and for a moment she makes eyes with probably one of the one of the older boys of one of the larger families, but just ends up kind of chucking an elbow his way as she comes around to give him check. And Peach will continue doing this until either there's nobody else around and she can sneak off, or her mom gets mad at her.
Ava is at the Physiker and Apothecary by herself. It was a relatively slow day, only 2 or 3 appointments, people who'd come in throughout. But the last one had shuffled out the door more than half an hour ago. She has spent the rest of the time slowly going around and organizing and cleaning, sweeping up things like sweeping up the floor, dusting things down, organizing everything in the apothecary to make certain that everything's stowed away, and then doing a sort of a deeper clean for a lot of the things, like the bench that the patients will end up sitting on. The point is to ensure that when people show up the next day, they have the comforting feeling of knowing that everything is in order and everything is clean, to make them as comfortable as possible at knowing that they're in good hands. After finishing up, she takes off the apron she'd used, sort of, and hangs it on puts it in a basket right below a hook. It will be washed sometime later. She'll have a clean one for the next day. She then closes the door and makes her way towards the center of town, where she plans on meeting up with whoever's around.
I think it's just me. Araya's daydreaming momentarily. She's on the stone steps that lead to the outdoor pools of the temple, and those shallow pools are fed by like a natural spring, and it's like lit up with the early morning light. In the courtyard below, there's a cart being hitched up to like a pair of very sturdy horses, and it's just another trip into town. And she sort of smiles to herself, trying to like hide it from the other priestesses. Her excitement's a bit unbecoming for somebody of her stoic order, but she really lets herself feel it in this moment before taking her small satchel down and setting it in the cart.
the end of the day has come. The sun is set just beyond the horizon. There's still some light in the sky. Fragments of the shattered moon strewn across the sky along with the stars. Once there had been a thing, an octahedron in the sky, but it's gone. And instead now, there's the tower in the north. 4 months ago, it appeared. On that day, the ground shook, and many times since then, it has as well. Small tremors, even this morning, rattled some of the dishes in your kitchen just a bit. The young people of the town made a habit of coming to gather near the old ruins, and tonight there is a bit of a bonfire. It is the 8th day of spring. On the 20th day of spring is the Blooming Flower Festival. Your group is going to be coming of age this year, and coming with that, you have certain responsibilities attached to this first festival of the year. You are expected to provide the central decoration for the festival, create games for the young children to play, also each create a dish that you will present at the festival, as well as a customary gift for the teacher that you'll present as a group. But each of you made your way to this bonfire. Just after dark, your chores finished for the day. Everything tucked away. A chance to hang out with your friends.
Oh no, we're all introverts.
I know.
Oh my god. So we're all at the fire. I mean, like, is anything happening? Everybody, like, we all show up at the same time?
Who's the last? Who would be the last to arrive?
Helping my mom set up for a show, I'd probably take a little longer than everybody else, since she plays tonight.
Nice. So as Sal approaches, give us a little bit of description maybe of what he sees, what people are doing while they're hanging out, maybe a bit of Sal's approach.
Sure. So, start with a description of him as he walks up. He's a big guy. Tall. Built like a big old barrel. You can hear him coming. He's not a subtle figure in town. You all don't really miss Sal or his parents. Heads up, this shadow kind of looms as he moves up towards the bonfire. Some of you are gathered in probably groups, as kids this age do, just a couple of groups of 3 or 4, whoever you're most comfortable with. And he just barges right up into one of them. The one that seems to be quietest, probably. People aren't speaking to each other. And interrupts whatever the conversation is, not paying much attention to what it is they were talking about, but more saying, exciting day tomorrow. We've got a lot of work to do to prepare for, our responsibilities. Gifts, food. I don't reckon I don't know how to do any of that stuff real well.
I don't see why we have to do any of it. I mean, it's not our choice that we became 18. I didn't choose to be here. I didn't choose to stay here for the past 18 years. Why'd I gotta send a present saying, hey, thanks for letting me live here?
Beth has a sandwich halfway hanging out of her mouth, and she just turns to look at you guys, and she's like, "What do you mean? We gotta do stuff? Shit! Ah, I'm already behind."
Sal pulls out a little. We got a whole list. They gave it to us weeks ago.
Throw it out. We don't need to do that.
She's just searching her pockets looking for a list.
He just hands you the notebook.
What are they gonna do if we don't do it, Sal?
Well, it's the worst case thing they could possibly do. They'll be disappointed.
to give you a little bit of setting, the old ruins were unearthed long ago, but they're overgrown with vines. There's like a portion of crumbling wall. There are some pillars still standing, some that have fallen over. All of it's half sunk into the ground. You've been here many times. If you're interested, you might have done rubbings of the faded glyphs or climbed around, on the vine-covered walls. It's a place that the adults don't really come to too much. There's no reason to be here. Anything to be discovered seems to have been discovered. There's a big partial wall of almost mosaic of stones, and some of them have fallen away. Some of them can be moved. The details of them seem to have been washed away by rain long ago. But this is a comfortable and safe place for you guys to hang out.
The fire roars up as Casey throws more sticks and other things onto it. He's dangerously close to it, but it doesn't seem to bother him at all. And he turns to the others with a smile and says, "Now it's really going. And who cares about the gift and food and all that? Soon they'll call us away. And we'll get to go and see what that," and kind of points in the direction of the tower, "is all about. I cannot wait." And he grabs another handful of sticks and throws it onto the already raging fire.
Casey, Kibith, nobody can understand you. And Casey, I would like to reiterate that you make me extremely nervous.
No, I'm
On a
with
regular
Casey on
basis.
this one.
You think they'll call you away?
As you discuss these things, some of you may prefer not to think of this, reminded of a truth that you're facing. Come the first day of summer, you will have come of age. The people older than you, the capable, those able to serve, have been called away by the kingdom to travel north in order to serve against an enemy that has appeared beyond the northern sea. Once you come of age, you will be expected to join them. People that you care about, people that you love, have gone off before you. You know that with the coming of this tower, the trajectory of your lives have changed. It's something that maybe hasn't really set in yet. Maybe members of your family have gone off on trips before. This feels like that. It's only been 2 months now. But every day that passes, you know that things are somehow different.
Cypherin is stretched out over a well-worn piece of stone, whatever, one foot kicked up over the other knee, a long piece of grass sticking out of her mouth, and she waves away a couple errant embers. You guys have it all wrong. You just got to pick something easy and have it done already. You don't have to overthink it. Kids, they like tag. Done. That one's done. Food, you can literally just find food. You can find something pre-made and then done.
Yeah, I already have the food settled. They said I didn't need to bring anything because of the last time I cooked something.
Sal cringes a little bit, unconsciously.
It wasn't that burnt.
Ava is standing with a drink in her left hand. Her right arm is across her body and sort of tucked under her, tucked across, sort of in an uncomfortable position. Obviously, her head's sort of down. She brushes an errant strand of hair out and sort of says quietly, sort of looking around everyone, it's like, "I think we should at least do the gift for the teacher. I mean, that they were good."
What is the teacher like? Did I miss something? Do we know what they're like? Anything about them?
Gilgain is an elderly halfling, gray-haired, walks slowly, often a bit hunched. He has taught your group, your age group, ever since you were children. You visit different parts of the town, sometimes often in the forest, learning about the way the trees grow, the way that a fence is built and mended, the way why the sails on the ships fill and spread when the wind comes in. It's taught you all of your life. Quiet, contemplative person, often predisposed to leave you to your own discoveries and your own devices, allows you to make your mistakes, but also loves to introduce to you new ideas, things for you to explore. He is a quiet person who likes simple things, enjoys things that are old, and reminders of ways of life that have changed or gone away. You live in a quiet town, but you know that the world outside has not always been a quiet place. Something changed the world centuries ago, and there was a long period of war, disorder, before the kingdom of Lux created peace and order across the land. You know that south of your region of the world, Isvalin, is a place called the Sarathan Desert. Far in the west is the capital, the city of Lux. The seas are a dangerous place. You know that there are lands beyond your land, but from what you've heard, they're filled with dangers. They don't have the sort of peaceful, safe life that you've been provided. You live in a world where the provisions of the kingdom create food, give you supplies, medicine when it's needed. There is great technologies farther in the west. You know that that's where the trains are made. The single train that comes to your town, that's where it was built. You've never been far west, but you know that a lot of the wonders that visit your small part of the world come from this bigger place.
All right, so I guess we gotta get something for the teacher because apparently he's the coolest teacher ever.
Well, it has to be something thoughtful.
I know, I was all set to blow it off, and then I remembered how he taught us for our entire lives since we were small children, and all different things about him just suddenly was just awash in fond memories.
Anybody got any ideas?
Do we have to give one gift from all of us? Because that would be easier. Or do we each give him something?
Don't we need
could
it like
be.
today?
Well,
The 20th.
Today is the 8th day of spring. You have until the 20th day of spring.
we got a little time. I'm glad you finished
Yeah,
that
why are
sandwich
we
before
worried
you-
about it now?
Sorry about that. Glad you finished that sandwich before you kept talking, Kibble. It's much easier to parse together what you're trying to say.
Maybe I'll give him a sprout from my garden. They can nourish it like he nourished us with knowledge.
You're going to give him a job? It's not a bad idea. I didn't mean to upset you.
He likes old stuff.
You like old stuff, Sal. What would you like as a present?
Well, most of the old stuff I'd like to keep. I find things on the docks occasionally, things people left behind when they're not paying attention. I don't steal it. He looks around, just making sure nobody even suspects that. But people forget things. We could rummage through my collection, but there's some stuff I'm keeping.
Okay, that's not a bad idea when it comes to that sort of gift, but maybe something to remember us specifically by, the ones who are all likely leaving town real soon. I mean, it won't be anything particularly historical, but maybe he'll remember us if, you know, if we don't come back or if we all become great adventurers and everything. It'd be nice, maybe something little, just to sign up all of our names and make a mark, and that way he knows that we were thinking of him, and he's got a relic of us.
Symbolic. That's sweet.
What if we called him a bobcat?
Very literal. That's terrifying.
I mean, it's exciting as hell. He would love that.
Yeah, Casey, you do that. You go get a bobcat, and the rest of us will work on like the picture frame thing.
The man's approximately the size of a bobcat, Casey. It might tear him to shreds.
So it also might tear Casey to shreds, which also might improve things. Not that you don't have good ideas, Casey.
Are the non-player characters here, or like Esmond and Shalati here?
They've probably been kept away by some sort of chores or obligations or family. They usually join you guys. You know, not everyone's here every time you meet or anything like that, but you're sure you've seen them out around town today.
Casey kind of brushes off their naysaying and says, "We'll figure something out." Right, Ez? And kind of looks over to an empty log and is a little crestfallen. And looks back to the fire and throws some more sticks on it.
Yeah, as the sticks strike the fire, one of the logs cracks and some embers kind of drift up into the air. I realize some of you already have, but I realize some of you, we don't have any idea what your character looks like. So as the flames roar up a little bit, give a physical description of each of your characters as that a firelight washes across your face.
Yeah. Casey blends in, almost disappearing into the roaring fire behind him. His hair is flaming red mohawk with notes of orange and yellow throughout. That's wild and doesn't obey the laws of physics at all. And his skin is a dark ashen color with notes of bright red magma lines throughout. He wears an open shirt, loose fitting, that shows off his skin and his magma lines. Loose fitting harem pants and no shoes, despite standing really close to the fire. The heat doesn't bother him at all. He's often smiling and raising an eyebrow and giving his friends mischievous looks. But he's, on the taller side and pretty svelte as well.
I love that it turns out Peach has been teasing like a giant man of magma.
You like to play with fire.
Peach is cute at first glance. She's petite, half elf, but the first thing you notice would probably be her presence, her voice. She has kind of unruly red hair that goes every which way, and she keeps it partially pulled back. You can see that her ears are pointed, but not so defined that she's full elf like her mom. But there's some elven blood there, and possibly more interesting, some human blood in a town like Shepherd's End where humans are rarer. So Peach is petite, and right now she'd be wearing whatever she was wearing under her apron for the day. So probably just a few layers of skirts with slight tears or patches on them, but layered so it's cute and bohemian looking. She looks intentionally disheveled.
Araya is, as always, wearing the heavy robes and whatnot. And it's kind of appropriate because it's still early spring and kind of cold. But she's got like her legs drawn up and tucked around and is like kind of back from the fire. Her skin is blue with like shots of gold kind of to it, and her horns are kind of like quartz. So some of the light of the fire can kind of like be seen through it. And yeah, she's got horns, and her hood is maybe like back more than usual. She's more comfortable around you all than the rest of town, but she's still keeping to herself as she doesn't know the teacher at all. She's that homeschooled kid y'all took pity on.
Real quick, out of character, Chris, are watches a thing? Like wrist watches or just pocket watches?
Yeah, pocket watches, probably less wrist watches.
All right. Ava is a relatively small human female. She has she's pale, sort of pale-looking skin with very dark, almost black hair and brown eyes. Which are typically looking more towards the ground and only looking up occasionally to make eye contact before looking away. She wears a white shirt with some suspenders on either side, sort of her work attire. Seems like a uniform that is worn almost all the time. In this case, it just happens to be a little bit unbuttoned. The sleeves are rolled up, so she's in her after hours. She has a satchel filled with supplies slung over her shoulder on her back, one that she carries with her everywhere that she goes, along with a smaller pouch maybe on her hip. She's holding one mug of whatever ale or is whatever beverage is sort of being served around there. And she's looking relatively, typically uncomfortable for the group event, which is not the most awkward that she ever is, because she's around people that she knows really well, but she's rarely completely not awkward.
Seyfried is a Harangan, so a rabbit person. She is, I guess, relatively tall for what one might expect for a Harangan. She's like 5'7" or so. Her coat is a mottled spray of white and red-brown ticking and splotches like a sparrow. And her long, like straight, silky hair is braided into two plaits that are running just over her shoulders. She often wears like small linen rompers, that kind of thing, that that are pretty breezy, since she doesn't need too much coverage given that she's covered in fur, and good for mobility. And she adorns them with woven grass accents from her family trade. Today she's wearing like a thick grass, like woven grass collar that kind of covers the collar of her romper. And then, as per usual, she has two woven grass bands around the arches of her feet, but otherwise no shoes. And she is just kicked back with her normal aloof demeanor.
Beth is a satyr, so she runs around with no pants on most of the time. I think occasionally she'll put on like pants similar to what Casey wears. But otherwise, she's typically dressed in like a puffy sleeved shirt with a vest. And the color of the vest varies, but it's usually earth tones. Today it's dark brown. That's similar to her hair. And she has a mop of dark curly brown hair that's usually unkempt, but she manages to squish it beneath her pillbox hat when she's working. And she's got a pair of horns that she decorates for holidays. So on big holidays, you might see her wearing like little bells at the end. So she jingles, she tilts her head around. And she's usually, when you see her, out of breath and kind of sweaty and red in the face from running around. When she's sitting around long enough, you'll see her with a book in hand and usually some food hanging out of her mouth.
Salinger is a big old furball. You've all known him since you were young, so he's always been a big kid compared to everybody else, but recently went through a growth spurt and is creeping up on 7 feet tall, so he kind of towers over the rest of the group. He's got a pale blue-gray skin, really dark burgundy hair, almost black. For most of his life, you would have seen that as like this big, poofy, frizzy, almost afro that he pulled back in a bun. But as he's gone into his kind of teenage years, young adult years, he started cutting it real short, slicking it back. Typically really well dressed, things that are cut to fit him. Black and gray with little pops of color, warm color, depending on the time of year. You might see magenta or red or an orange, kind of contrast his skin tone. Really straight posture, always puffs his chest out, looks happy to be there and confident about everything he does or says, even when all of you, his friends, can tell he's completely full of shit.
Is that everyone? I think that was everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, as the log cracks and some embers float into the air, you catch sort of sitting on the wall for a moment. A red-crested bird, common to the area this time of year, kind of flutters its wings a bit and goes flying off into the forest.
Beth kind of stops and stares at that bird. She's, oh. Linda said that those were her favorite, and she said that since the tower appeared, there's not so many of them. I'm gonna have to tell her I saw one. She's sitting near, I guess she's sitting near Casey and I don't know, whoever wants to be on the other side of her.
If it's near the fire, I'm near the fire.
Yeah, and Kebeth is talking of Glenda Gell. It's sort of an older woman who lives in the town, and she loves birds and bird watching.
Oh.
Casey has kind of a big stick with a flat end on it, and he's raking through the fire with intention.
It's so ominous.
Yeah.
A forest noise appeared at the right time, so it kind of sounds like that's what's going on.
Casey looks back as Kibith moves around. Says, "It's almost ready," and smiles.
What's almost ready?
He's turned back to the fire. He says, "Just wait."
Kebeth's scooting further away from the fire.
Have you all fallen asleep? He says to the sky, still focused on the fire.
No, we're all thinking about that whole list of things. I don't even remember what was on it.
That
Games
hands
for
the
the younger
list.
folks. Oh yeah, games for the younger folks. Gift for the teacher. Decorations for the event.
And then we all got to make something to eat.
Food, yeah. Except for Casey.
Games.
Good.
It's done. I have one.
Not the
And
bobcat.
he steps back. No, that's the gift. And he flourishes towards the fire and shows that he has scraped out the hot coals into a flat path going from one side of the fire to the other.
Games for children. For children. Casey, kids. The
Of
little
course,
kids.
this is for children. You run across, and when you get to the other side, do you know the feeling that you're filled with?
Fear?
Arrow.
Pain.
A burning sensation.
Exhilaration.
First degree burns.
Oh, none of those things. Power, accomplishment. You've run across fire itself.
I mean,
How
you
is
run
that-
across coals.
Wouldn't you want to feel that? This is a gift we can give to the children and the teacher if he wants to do it as well.
Hard pass.
Seems like a loaded game, Casey.
Yeah.
Does no one want to run across? Sal? Peach? Doc? Surely, Doc, come on. He kind of walks up to her and, Doc.
I'll do it
Trying-
if Doc does it. If Doc does it and shows me that it's somehow medically possible and feasible and safe, I trust Doc. I think she's bright.
He tries to get her eyes off the ground, going lower and lower in front of her.
She let me put the headset on so I don't do the thing where I fuck up.
I mean, I have hooves, and I still don't know about that.
She actually, for a moment, and the first instinct of declining just sort of happens, and she's like, no, that doesn't. And then for some reason, she just sort of like pauses and continues to stare at the ground. And she looks off to the side for a second and sort of gets a stern look on her face. And then she starts to eye the coals. Chris, I want to see if in her mind this is something that she thinks she can do. Based without getting hurt.
Well, yeah, so this is kind of how we'll handle this. You're going to roll a flat d20, and if this is something that you think that your character is, and in this case what you're doing is using your knowledge of the body and fire to, would this hurt you? Would you be okay? How would this go? So if your character is pretty good at this sort of thing, you can also roll a d4. If this is the one thing that your character is best at, you can roll a d6 as well, or in addition to the d20.
Okay. Yeah, I think that if I'm going to use medical, I'll use a d6. I'll give it a shot. Let me see what you think. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, you know that it is, there's a lot of complication involved. You know some tangential things from overhearing Esmond talk about a bit of tinkering work and working with metal. You know that it has to do with essentially time and heat, but there's also something about water, something about oil. You can't quite remember that, but you know what? If you are confident and you moved quickly, yeah, you might be okay.
Yeah, very uncharacteristically, she sort of looks up at him and then looks at the coals, and then has a small, like, weak smile as she looks off to the side, and she starts to kick off her boots.
Well, she's doing it. I'm doing it.
What?
Yes.
Cypher jumps to attention. What, is there a trick to it? You just got to be fast? I can be fast.
No shoes. Everyone, shoes off.
I'm already
Well,
not wearing shoes.
I had no intention of ruining my shoes anyway.
My
Yeah, but
shoes are
don't
made
get
of
a-
grass, so they were definitely going to come off.
Can I look at the coals for a second? They're not small enough that they would get lodged in Kibbeth's hooves, are they?
Ooh, that's an interesting thought. It's possible.
Well, I'll just consider it.
Kibeth has been slowly inching further and further away, like very little, like very slowly, but like she's just gradually getting further and further and further away.
Doc's
Wow.
up first, and Casey kind of swings over and sits next to Kibeth with a swish. He's like, "Who wants to go next after him?" You don't really have to go, Kibeth, but it'd be really awesome.
I mean, what are we waiting for?
All right. Well, her boots now off. Doc walks to sort of the edge of where the coals are. Starts to breathe in a little bit. She takes the pouch that she usually almost always wears, and actually like looks around, and she's wearing at what all the things she's wearing. She rolls up their pant sleeves, and again, uncharacteristically, she sort of looks around, and whoever's close. I don't know if Sal would be close, or maybe Casey's the one standing closest, but whoever it is, she's gonna hand the bag for them to hold, and say, "Okay." She's rubbing herself like this, sort of clearly nervous about this, and she points to whoever's holding the bag, whoever's gonna hold it, and she's like, "You should stand on the other side just in case."
Yeah, Casey will swoop up from sitting next to Kibeth when he sees Doc handing a pouch out. Swoops up next to her and says, "You've got this. Swift like the wind." And he spins away from her and runs over to the other side of the fire and grins at her through the flames.
Seifert is also up on her feet at this point in all of the excitement. She's trying not to crowd Ava too much and like psych her out, but she is very interested, ears at full attention, like at the ready, like she is a wound up spring.
All right. As you set up to move across onto those coals, looking at them glowing, dancing there before you, you can test one of two things here. It's your choice. One of them is pure speed. How fast can you move across the coals? The other one is how precise and confident is your character in the face of stress? How deliberately precisely can you act, even while afraid?
Okay, I'm going to test the second one. I think that the Doc runs a lot for her job, but I'm going to test the second one. I think that's more who she is. So she's taking those deep breaths. She's doing the thing where you sort of clap your hands behind your back and then in front of you a little bit, and she can sort of feel the heat emanating off. And there's a little bit of nervousness just standing there, just realizing what she's about to do. And then she starts to breathe a little bit more deeply, sort of trying to calm down. And then she's going to try to walk precisely, I suppose, across these coals. And having just rolled a 20, I can't wait to see what the roll 20 decides will happen after this.
That was the first roll of the game, yeah.
Oh,
20.
All right. Yeah. Do you want me to roll again for it, Chris? Is that what I'm rolling? Or what do you want me to do?
Yeah, so when you rolled that d20, you got a natural 20, which was perfect. You were able to attach a d4 or d6 if you wanted to that previous roll. What would you have attached had you not,
The medical roll would have been a d6.
Okay, so Ava's best thing is like her medical knowledge. That makes sense. Okay, so if this thing that you're testing now is something that you know confidently, like, oh, Ava's good at this, you can add a d4 if you'd like to.
Okay. Yeah, I think that. Oh, this is tough. Because she is real confident in very small things, but this is for her. This is confidence building. That's what this is supposed to be. So,
Stop hemming and hawing. I'll go first if you can't do it. Do it, Ava.
Okay.
Well, why isn't Casey showing us?
And
It's basically made out of Casey.
she takes one more deep breath, and she's gonna chart the route, try to keep herself calm, know there'll be some stinging, focus, and start to walk.
Araya gasps.
Ooh, real bad.
That is a 3 on your d20. You can roll your d4 to add to that, but I don't know if it's going to help.
I don't think it will help either. I think that poor Ava just is not gonna, I guess, get hurt. I don't know. You tell me.
Well, you start walking.
Tragic.
You
Casey would absolutely go in to pull her through the other side.
you take the first few steps, and you're like, I know how this works. Time. There won't be enough time for this to burn my feet as long as I step straight. These flames are the coals are this color. They won't be that hot. You take your second step, and you're, that's warm. Take that third step, and you're like, whoa, that's way hotter than you thought it was going to be. And your feet are just so delicate and soft. You realize it is time to bail. But there, at the other side, you see Casey, hand extended, palm open.
She's gonna go for it. She's gonna try.
All right. Casey, as you can see Ava's steps starting to get a bit tentative. You can see a foot jerking up sooner than it should, the other foot staying on too long. You realize this is bad. Casey, roll your d20 to reach out and grab Ava.
Yeah, his smiles at her, does not show fear or concern, just gleeful confidence that she will make it. And he says, halfway is no time to stop. You're 14.
Nice. So let me ask you this, 14. Do you think that this kind of thing, the helping of others, or is this something that you would add a d4 to? Is this something that Casey is good at? How would Casey approach this?
I think Casey is very supportive of his friends, especially when he's getting them to do stupid things of his doing. So yeah, at least a d4. If it's fire-based, maybe even a d6.
This is specifically fire-based, but let's do a d4 for this, because this is more of Ava dealing with it.
All right.
All right, add 3 to that. That makes it a 17. Yep, you managed to reach out. 2 of you clasp hands, and you're able to pull Ava off those coals before anything bad happens. Ava, your feet are definitely, they're feeling the heat. But as you step on the cooler grass, you realize, okay, well, that's not too bad. Not too bad.
She sort of laughs nervously and sort of looks up to Casey, and it's one of the few times in which she's just like genuinely seems to be less self-conscious. So she's a little pumped up from it, and she's like, not too bad.
He wraps his arm around her and picks her up off the ground and kind of spins. He is probably uncomfortably warm after having just been in the fire. It's kind of a warm hug. It spins around. He's, yes! Who's next? And he kind of sets her down doesn't throw her down, but sets her down a little off-settled maybe.
She's awkward. She doesn't say anything, but she's sort of awkwardly trying to get her bag from you. As you're excitedly looking at other things.
Yeah, he's looking through the fire at everyone else. Who's next? And he holds out his arms, his bag. Your bag is in one of his hands. That you could probably snack from.
Seifert and Peach look like they're standing there on the other side. Seifert's been there waiting since Ava got on.
Yeah, Seifert is ready. I feel pretty good about both of these things, but I'm going to go for speed, and I'm going to give this one a 6.
Ooh, all right. Roll your d20. That is a 9 on the die. Add your d6 to it. 3 for that's a 12 total. All right. Well, tell us as Seifert goes dashing across these coals with incredible speed.
She hops and skips across, but the heat of that is definitely not something you can anticipate before you're stepping on it. And her brazen confidence kind of gives way to a shocked and almost giggly, like, woo, 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 as she hops across, but finishes nonetheless victorious, if chagrined.
So fast you almost crashed into Casey and Ava on the other side, but managed to make it. Made it across, even fast. A couple hairs on your feet singed a bit for sure, but
The smell.
yeah, a little bit of burned rabbit hair smell.
Yeah, I bet that's great.
Oh, burnt hair is the worst smell.
She will turn around in preparation of like sort of beside Casey to catch Peach.
Yeah, Casey will put an arm around her and laugh. How do you feel?
That's crazy. That's a crazy thing you set up.
Well,
All right, come on, let's go.
yeah, sure. I've been talking a big game. All right.
You just
She
gotta
gotta-
go quick. Don't lose your nerve.
Peach kind of just glances over her shoulder at Sal, and then across the fire at the people already there, and then she just books it. Kind of hoists her skirts above her knees and makes a run for it.
All right. How would Peach approach this challenge? Like, what's her?
You would just go fast. She would literally just try to pick the shortest line.
Okay, roll a d20. Ooh, 15 on the die. So let me ask you this: is speed one of Peach's strong suits?
I don't think particularly, no, if I'm being honest.
Okay, but a 15 luckily is enough. After having watched two people go before you, tell us as you make it across these coals, your friend's waiting on the other side.
She kind of just trips across the coals and goes, you all acted like that was hard. No, I'm just kidding. Oh my god, my feet hurt so bad.
Ava's sort of still trying to get Casey. My back. She's saying quiet.
He runs over to Peach. You did splendidly. And kind of takes her by the shoulders and shakes her a little bit. Sal!
Sal clasps his arms behind his back, looks up and down at the coals, and he pours some water from his canteen behind his feet, and then smears his feet in mud as if it looks like he's about to get a running start. Keeping his arms behind his back, he just kind of skips across the coals. So we're going the confidence route.
Okay, well, I think in this case, maybe you're testing a little bit of your character's like logic and how to deal with this and how to improvise a bit. Is that something Sal's good at?
He's very meticulous and detail-oriented, so watching how everybody else approached it and then choosing how he would then approach it is very much him, yeah.
Okay, add a d4 to your roll. There's a 13 on the d20. Oh, and a 4 on the d4 for a 17. All right, tell us about Sal getting to the other side.
Okay, as he kind of does a light skip step as he goes. Pretty loud, kind of thundering plops as this heavy guy moves across it. He's kind of smiling, shrugging his shoulders. It almost looks like a dance step. And then he plops on 2 feet on the other side, leans towards Casey. I think you're actually onto something with this.
Yes. Casey will actually kind of run up one of Sal's legs and stand on his knee with his hands on his shoulders so that he can get full height above Sal and just say, yeah, so kind of standing up on his knee, shoulders and stuff like that, and just kind of howls into the air, yes!
Hold on. As he's doing that, he cups a hand under one of your feet so your boots aren't resting their muddy prints on his pants.
As Casey howls.
Barefoot.
As Casey howls, for just a moment, it almost seems as though his mohawk gets just a little bit longer. It's almost as though the bonfire gets a little bit brighter for just a moment, but maybe a trick of the eyes.
Having failed so far, Ava is now going to Seifert, where she's like, my bag. I need, just trying to like touch her on the arm to point towards him.
He holds the bag in the air above, at the highest point of the group, and just, yeah, Aurea, you're next, surely.
In the hesitation and with the bag in the air, Seifert will jump over them and get it.
Oh, so Seifert goes bounding up into the air as tall as Sal and Casey?
Yes.
Ooh, I like this. Let's do... Casey, do you care that this is happening? Do you want to hold him in this bag, or are you just oblivious to the fact that Ava wanted it back?
I will react reflexively and try to dodge. Yeah, surely.
Okay. Roll off between Seifert and Casey.
Yeah, Casey sees a blur coming up towards him, and he...
What is with these dice? Can I get a new set?
Oh, that is an 8 for Seifert and a 19 for Casey. You catch her at the corner of your eye, bing, bounding up, and you've seen her antics before. Snatch that bag out of the way. She goes sailing right over.
Seifert accidentally slams into Sal's shoulders.
Yeah, he ducks down and turns to Seifert. Hey, you've had your turn. It's Aurea's turn now, and he points, bag still in his hand as he's pointing.
And you guys look over, you see somehow Sal now has Seifert and Casey. It's on him.
Yeah.
She just perches herself, she's sitting on his shoulders on purpose now, yelling back at Casey.
I feel like this isn't an uncommon occurrence.
Casey would jump down. He's not chilling on Sal.
Yeah, you, bad influences. The lot of you. But... she sort of kicks off her sandals and hikes up the many layers of so much fucking fabric. You guys don't even... hikes it all up and tucks it and is okay. Mind over matter. And sort of is doing a meditative approach. If it hurts, it can't hurt for long. And if it... She just... she's used to ignoring uncomfortable positions and mind over matter. Yes, yeah. It's just she takes the first hesitant step onto the coals. Oh.
Yeah, and you see her take a slow, tentative step onto the coals. You see her kind of toes spread out across them. describe to us as you make it across. Much slower than seems to make sense.
You see her just like staring down at the coals and not at it, not like, and just like each step, just like, stepping just like across, and kind of just at like this, like sedate meditative pace that you might see her like through the temple grounds or whatnot, and just comes out the other side and lets loose her skirts and kind of dusts them off and is like,
The clapping
All
of
right.
your friends.
Not for kids. Not for kids.
Cypher will swing down off of Sal's shoulders. Yeah, definitely not for children.
But
No,
back,
but the
back on the far side of the coals, you still see Beth sitting on her log.
Yeah. Casey hugs Araya and says, Araya, my dear, how do you feel?
Warmer. I still don't think it's a good idea. You're bad influence. You have very bad ideas. They're very dangerous.
Casey's ideas tend to be a little bit extreme, but there's a spark of something good to it. An obstacle course could be a whole lot of fun.
And he didn't make any of us do it. It's not like he's over there, like, holding a torch to our asses to make us run.
It's true.
Beth. Beth.
You notice that
Beth.
Quebec has stood up, and she's kind of eyeing it, and she's like, "None of you are permanently injured." She kind of eyes Ava.
Ava is trying to tap Casey on the shoulder a little bit at this point, sort of touching his back as he's obviously oblivious, but she's trying real hard just to sort of get the attention, still with after the bag. But otherwise, she seems mostly fine.
She looks around the fire until her eyes kind of set upon the nearest cups full of drink or water, some kind of liquid handy nearby. She looks at the coals, just yes. Okay. I'm gonna do it. I can run really fast. Okay. Move. And she kind of like circles away from the fire again. Then she comes back and she looks at you guys. She's like, okay, she's gonna do it. And she's gonna use speed.
Yeah.
All right.
Go, Kiki!
Before you roll, describe to us a little bit of Kabeth heading out into the calls, and then tell us about Kabeth's hand.
Yeah, so Kaveth seems very nervous. She's pacing, she circles around, and then finally she looks like she's just gonna sprint, barrel right across the whole thing, and as she kind of takes a broad leap. She's very good at jumping. She takes a broad leap onto the coals, and as her hoof sets on the first coal, her hand starts to burn where she has a deep scar across it, where as a child she grabbed a flaming hot piece of metal in her parents' workshop, and it starts to tingle, and a tear almost comes running down her eye. But she is moving forward at full speed, and nothing is going to stop her now.
All right, give it a roll. And if you're
Right, so D20.
Yeah, and if you're particularly good at moving quickly, you can roll a d4. If being quick is your very best thing, you can roll a d6.
Oh,
It's a 4 on the d20.
I mean, I do think, I don't know what she's good at all, but I think that running around town is her thing. So let's roll the d6, and it's just going to add pittance to this.
Yeah.
So that's 9.
That's plus 5 for a 9. You see Kabeth land in these coals and go leaping across, but when she gets to the other side, just as you had feared, a coal has lodged itself in her hooves. You see smoke start to curl, and Kabeth, you start to feel pain.
She's screaming. She's like,
I'm gonna grab her. I'm gonna pull her out of the fire.
All right, so you reach out to grab. Roll a d20. And you can add the same die that you had last time.
I added a D4 last time.
Oh, nice for a 13. Yep, you grab onto Kibeth, pull her free, but you still see that coal is lodged there. Someone's gonna have to do something.
She's
Casey.
crying. She's on the ground.
And this time, Doc is not at all quiet. She grabs the bag on his and grabs it out of his hand, essentially, and says, "Give me this." And she immediately reaches inside to pull out a metal tool that she would use for surgeries to...
She's screaming, water! 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 Put water on me now!
You're holding water.
I am?
She.
Oh,
She
Quebec
looked
was.
at it. She looked at it.
Oh, I thought you were
Oh.
carrying it with you.
yeah, if someone wants to get water, I don't think I have it on me, so...
Cypher is quick. She will grab water while Doc is doing what Doc is doing.
Oh yeah.
All right. So Doc, describe as you're getting set up to help, and Cypher, roll a D20 and your D6 for going as quick as you can to get that water and get back in time. Oh no, that's a 3 on
I'm
the
sorry.
die.
Can I refresh roll 20? What is happening with these dice?
Yeah, as you reach out, you slide to get that water skin. As you grab onto it, you bump it, knock it off the log, splash into the grass.
Not my day.
Casey has pulled Kibeth out and is down next to her, saying, "Focus. Focus here with me." As Doc is doing her thing, and he's kind of like doing hand motions for Doc, but talking to Kibeth.
Doc, what are you doing?
Doc has a simple flap. That's the only thing that separates her from the tools. They're right on the outside of the bag. She flips it open, immediately grabs it. It's something she's instantly familiar with. She then, I assume, Kibeth is on the ground? Yeah?
I mean, she's not standing
Okay.
on it.
Yep. She wraps around almost like a wrestler would, one of her feet, tucks it under her arm, and immediately grabs what's inside there with the metal tools to pull out the incredibly hot coal.
All right. So I won't make you roll for the retrieving of the coal. You managed to get a hold of it and pry it free. It comes out with a pop, skitters away. But how are you going to tend? You can see that there's some burns where it's hooves obviously harder to burn, but it's been in there for such kind of a while now that the surrounding area.
Yep. She, as soon as throws that aside, sets the tool back inside, reaches into her bag to pull out a small container that has two different chambers inside of it, and pulls pinches of two different crushed plants that she sort of mixes into a third in her hand, and it's a salve. It moves from two things that look pretty much like a powder to something that looks almost like like not a cream, but a clear gel almost, as she massages it in her fingers. And then she starts to apply it directly to the wound, and it has an instant sort of numbing effect and cools that area whenever the gel touches the wound.
All right.
Casey is talking directly to Kibeth. Pain is temporary. The fact that you faced your fear, that will stay with you forever.
All right, Doc, go ahead and roll a D20 plus your D6 for your medicinal practices. That's a 12 on the D20 and a 3 on the D6 for 15. Yeah, Kibeth, you feel immediately the burning begins to cool. You might be a little tender, have a little limp for a day or two, but it's not too bad.
She's just still bawling, even if the pain has subsided. She's very upset.
Araya would definitely go over to hold her other hand with Casey. You did so good, though. You did so good. You almost just jumped over the whole thing.
Should have just jumped over the whole thing.
You should definitely just jump over the whole thing next time.
Doc looks up for Seyfried, who and sort of looking towards to see if she's brought the drink over, and she's sort of waving her over.
Oh no, Seyfried and I both don't know how to deal with that.
Yeah.
Is there
clear was
any
the cipher
mud left where Sal poured the water into the ground?
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah, I mean, she can grab a handful of this like mud, but the water is done for unless there's another one around.
Oh, seeing this, Ava just, I didn't recognize that was what it was. Ava's going to leave. And Doc runs off to grab an actual drink. I'm assuming there's like beer or something there.
Probably thanks to Peach, right?
Probably
What do you
thanks
think?
to Peach and not thanks to Miranda. Peach will
Okay.
get in trouble for it later.
Oh, yeah, so Peach managed to snag a cask and bring it. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Okay.
Okay, so that's where Doc goes to grab a drink for poor Beth.
She'll have stopped crying by the time you return. She'll just frown and take it.
Oh, if she's not crying anymore, I'll just drink it myself. No, I'm just kidding. She gives me the drink. She says, I think you're going to be okay. It might be a sore for a little while, but it's not too bad. You'll just try to stay off it a little bit more. Don't run quite as much for like a day. I know your job's that, but
I have deliveries tomorrow. And I get in trouble if I don't make the deliveries, and then I'll get fired from my job, and then they'll make me learn.
No. I can help. I can help. I'll help you. I can.
Beth, baby, we're coming of age. We're out of here real soon. So if you are late on your deliveries, nobody's gonna give a shit in 2 weeks.
Seyfried will, unsuccessful with the water, come clambering back into what now seems to be like a little loving dog pile. But she'll also quietly be like, I can also help you with your deliveries.
You just get a nod.
Can I?
Okay.
Doc, is it okay if I take a look?
Doc sort of like looks at her and just like nods and he's like, yeah, of course.
It's probably not that bad, Beth. And she sort of like lifts up her hoof like super gently. And it's like, yeah, no, it's not so bad. And just like the maiden always looks out for the strongest traveler, I promise. And so she sort of like closes her eyes and just feels deep within inside a little tiny prayer on this delicate little hoof, little cedar hoof, and possibly feels better.
Okay.
Possibly.
If anyone who's watching this closely, roll a d20.
Do I roll a d20 regardless?
You don't need to roll.
Okay.
Oh,
Telling
now I
you,
roll.
I'm gonna riot.
Your rolls are so bad.
Oh,
It's because it's saving it up for when it really, really matters.
I hope so.
you're just sandbagging a little bit. So let me ask you this. Are any of your characters, like, your thing is you're really perceptive. You have a very keen eye, attention for detail, and good at noticing things most people don't notice.
I have no idea what I'm good at, Chris.
I
She's not
argue
good at
that
anything.
Sal would.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would also argue that.
Or like,
Well, this is us building your character as you play. So you kind of make these decisions like, oh, is this the thing my character's good at?
It's
I feel like
his second best thing. His best thing is just being really big.
Yeah, I feel like Peach would be perceptive of things, especially of people and interactions, but it wouldn't necessarily be her best thing.
Okay. Well, if this is something you're really good at, you can add a d4 to your roll.
Okay, I'm gonna add a d4, but it's not gonna help me.
Yeah, sames.
Oh my gosh.
oh my god.
That's
Oh my goodness sakes.
That's a 1 for Cypher.
We're just getting him out of the way.
I
This
also
is just
got a crit. I also got a 1.
I really
yeah,
am
but on a
gonna
D4.
refresh.
Oh my god.
Yeah, you should refresh. Yeah.
I think
Okay.
maybe
Maybe I just didn't get the good rolls update.
Well, I think so. Looks as though Kibeth there, and maybe that makes sense because it is her own hoof. Peering really closely, just kind of beneath Araya's thumb, kind of where it's touching your ankle. You have ankles? I think you have ankles. I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
Is your foot one big ankle?
Hawks?
Your drumstick.
I need to Google what the anatomy of a hoof. I have no idea.
I don't know if you would call it an ankle, but there is a joint. There is a joint
hawk.
there at the top of the.
Technically a knee.
We'll say your hoof there. What does Kibeth notice, Araya?
Like just under the touch of her hand where it meets hers, just like a faint glow and perhaps a warmth. Super, super minor, super gentle, comforting even. So whatever burning that you might have been feeling, or the fear of the burning that makes it even hurt more, it sort of softens into sort of like a comforting warmth that's not a burning warmth, if that makes sense. More like a pillow, less like a fire.
Yeah. And looking at the rolls, I realize actually Sal and Ava, you both notice this not quite as keenly as Kibeth did, but you notice this too. You see some of the redness where the burned was start to fade.
Beth goes, oh, thank you. That's so much better.
She sort of like gives you a squeeze. But you still did really good.
Casey has stood up at this point and his back is to the group, staring into the fire that they all just crossed, and just glad you didn't admit defeat, Kibeth. There's way more waiting for us out there. Way more than just this little fire pit. And he kicks a little glowing ember.
You mean we're gonna have to walk across more fires?
I can't wait. And he steps out with confidence as he goes across the fire.
Like the fire?
Well, yeah, the coals that you guys went across.
Oh.
And as Casey moves across, you realize you all made it. You're all on the other side of the coals. Every single one of you managed to make it across one way or another with the help of your friends or alone. You all did it.
Obstacle course, though.
Obstacle course. Well, what?
That's a great idea.
Well,
Like
no
balancing?
fire.
Yeah, no.
Ooh,
But we could do
long jump.
Yeah.
Long jump. Maybe like a seesaw. Some rolling logs you have to run across. No, twisted ankles.
Something balancing.
Wall to climb over.
That'd be fun. Maybe a rope on it.
I can make rope.
Three obstacles probably enough.
It may have gotten lost in translation, but Casey did also walk across the coals at the end there.
I thought it was the full bonfire. I was like, whoa.
Just walks through the fire.
Just like super slowly, no clothes.
You all
That's
did
Casey.
this, but look what I did.
As much as I wanted to just have you all walk across and me not walk across, I'll walk across too.
Did you roll?
I did not.
Are you fast or conviction?
I think he's fireproof.
Or made of fire.
I don't know, right? Your conviction and your fireproofness.
I only roll when the DM deems it so.
All right, so we've got obstacle course. We can do like just a small version of all of that. Yeah, we could have people turn their ankles and things, but it ain't that big of a deal. And like, we won't do the rolling, but we could have them jump over pits. We could have them do a little balance beam battle, things like that. Real small. They could fall in mud.
We
They
could
fall in
pretend
sand.
it's hot lava.
Yeah. So like an adventurous training course, because then it'd be all parallel with us all leaving, right? Because we're off to have our own adventures, and then the little ones come and train for theirs. I think that's cute.
Are you really leaving, though?
Aren't we all expected to go?
Well, they didn't
Yeah.
call away all the priestesses.
I know. I'm pretty sure if I didn't leave on my own, my mom would make me. She can't wait for me to be gone.
I don't know if that's true.
I mean, you hear all the things she did before I was around. I ruined her life. But yeah, I'll go on and find my own thing. I can't wait.
Personally, I'm looking forward to it as well. A lot more to see than just Shepherd's End. Well, we got a few things to do before we leave, right? Obstacle course is one. Got to figure out that gift.
I'm telling you, just something sentimental. Teachers love that sort of nonsense.
I'm sure S could whip something up for them.
Oh, you're going to
Nice.
volunteer him while he's gone.
Oh, he would love creating some sort of little mechanical thing. He's great at it.
All right, so then what? Food? If you all just want, I can cook. I don't care. I'll do it after hours or whatever. Just, pitch in and I'll do like 10 things.
I
Easy.
make a lot of bread at the temple. I'm happy to help too. A lot of bread.
For a gift, what if we made him a sundial? He likes things that we don't really use anymore. And, that would be something that would last for a while. Like, could put it somewhere that, we built it, and when he sees it, I don't know, like that.
Do we know if he has an outdoor space near his house, or we could just install it in secret?
There's certainly room around the teacher's house where you could do something like that. It might be hard to do that without being noticed unless you made it beforehand and then just delivered it in the night.
We'd have to time it right.
But
I'm always going to look beleaguered at the puns.
Peach, as they mentioned the sundial, you reminded strangely of something you ever heard today.
Mention of the sundial? Reminds me of the lighthouse?
Sure.
Sure. Okay. So, I don't know. It's weird. I heard the strange thing today that one of the sailors was just, in his cups, kept complaining that someone moved the lighthouse. That he couldn't get in proper because the lighthouse wasn't where it was supposed to be. But, of course, that's absolute nonsense. But, I don't know. It's just the weirdest thing.
Very drunk.
Oh, that's what I figured. But, maybe if somebody can move a lighthouse, we can move a sundial.
Well, I thought about it because I also heard something weird. There were some farmers, and they were saying that the sun looked really weird this morning when it was coming up. So I think that's why I thought about it.
Weird how?
It was like a color that wasn't normally. I didn't hear everything. It's just, they said it it looked really. I don't know if they said the color or not, but they just, they've seen a lot of suns, and I don't know. Maybe it was not. I don't. It's just yeah.
Is it like the red sky in morning? Sailors take warning?
I don't think so. They were saying that it looks like a really really weird, and that's pretty normal. So like that would be a little odd, but also happen pretty frequently. So they just were having a whole conversation about it.
Come to think of things moving, the Fairfoot property had a fence collapse. He was complaining about his like 3 of his chickens escaped.
I had nothing to do with that.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
well, now I think you did.
But why would you think that when I didn't? We were nowhere near that area.
Which we.
Okay.
Which we, Ez and I, of course.
Anyway, could we have slept through an earth? Well, I guess that wouldn't affect the sun, would it?
There was a little
But-
tremor this morning, like it shook like your dishes and stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure that caused the fence and the chickens.
Yeah. Maybe
the
everything's shaking
lighthouse?
loose.
Oh, well, on my way here, I saw weird things on the tracks of things that I don't really recognize in the road on the way here. It's cool, right? Sorry, I shouldn't use that word, but whatever.
What was it?
What kind of- Were they big tracks?
What did they
They were
look
just-
like?
Well, not like a fox, and not like a Haragon, and not like a horse. It's not really
Big? That's a huge size range.
on purpose.
They were somewhere between several inches and several feet.
So we know who doesn't pay attention to details.
Or just has a not super honed memory. I don't know what that means. No, I mean, there was kind of markings on the trees, and actually that seems a lot more concerning now that I think about it. Maybe it wasn't an animal. Maybe it was person with a sword practicing on trees. Do people do that with trees?
I don't think so.
I think it's bad for both the tree and the sword to practice that way.
Yeah, the only person you've ever seen carry a sword is the Verdict, who only very rarely comes to Shepherd's End.
You're all worried about nonsense stories. You sound like old Pothammer
Nothing else
babbling
happened.
about the tide coming in at the wrong time and whatnot.
Okay,
nothing
but
to worry
imagine the
about.
Verdict just going ham on a tree.
Fuck this tree.
This tree is guilty.
Maybe the tree was guilty.
Wait, that's a lot of weird stuff, though. If you said the tide didn't come in?
The tide.
I-
What?
I'm sorry, the tide didn't come in at all.
No,
Or just-
the wrong time. It was Pothammer babbling about it. Just it's nonsense. It's things people make up.
It means we're all extremely bored and boring.
No, I feel like it's. I don't know. That's weird with the guy thinking the last move too. That's a little weird, I guess.
Are we all just sharing the strange things we saw today now? Is that how this conversation's moving?
Oh yeah, and
Yeah,
that bird
Sal,
before.
did you see something weird?
What bird?
Well, I was going to speak to Ez about it directly, but his contraptions are wandering around a little funny. One of them knocked a box over on the way past the docks. Big clumsy things. Normally, I assumed he just put a gear on wrong.
He's always fixing those things.
I didn't have anything to do with that either.
I'm sure.
So that one's solved.
chickens and the automatons. I think we got those figured out. Now, why the verdict would go on slashing at trees, though?
It
Strange.
could be just a bear.
Bears don't
have
carry
swords.
swords.
I didn't say it was swords.
If anyone's gonna slash a tree, the verdict would. But
Have you gotten in trouble with him before?
interesting stuff doesn't happen around Shepherd's End. This is just people being bored. Now, once we leave, once they send us out, then the true adventure will start.
First, we gotta get through the ceremony, all right? So we gotta get obstacle course, and then me and Araya making most of the food, and then we're doing the sundial for our professor, and then what was that last thing? What was the last thing we gotta do?
As you mentioned that, you realize there's maybe a little bit of a problem, because for the food, you want to use the best ingredients. And, well, those prize chickens, they lay the best eggs.
We have to find the chickens so we can get the best eggs.
We have to find
Only if you
these.
care about using the best eggs.
Wait, you're setting us
You
on
know
a
what
freaking
else, though? There's probably a
quest?
reward for finding those award-winning chickens.
Well, and I was going to make a quiche, and you can't make a quiche without eggs.
Well, a quiche is only eggs, so you want to use the better eggs.
That's what he said. He said you can't make a quiche without eggs.
You could just use regular eggs, it just wouldn't be as good.
Do I look like the kind of person that would just use regular eggs?
Come to think of it, no.
Exactly. We'll find those chickens. Figure out who moved the lighthouse. And talk to that verdict next time we see him about messing up trees.
Watch them really closely around the trees.
Salinger, or we could do our damn jobs until we leave.
Our jobs are mostly drudgery. I would like a little bit of a distraction. Frankly, if these interesting things are as interesting as they sound. And truth is, Orthoclase made the most sense I've heard him making since I've known him, what he just said.
Or Casey smiles and walks over to Sal and puts his hand on each shoulder and says, Sal, I will find your chickens. And then he turns and kind of walks over to the edge of where everyone is looking out.
Well, I guess
Notice
then
he
we're
did
all
that,
finding chickens, because if we don't, he's going to burn the village down.
Don't roast those chickens. Those are expensive chickens. Casey.
I won't cock it up.
Every time you do that, the enemy gets an inspiration.
No, but one of these days I'm going to roll my eyes so hard they'll get stuck.
That already happened once when you were 12.
Yeah, but Ava got me looked at.
Yeah. So what do we want to
If
do?
it can, yes, and.
What do we want to do first? The chickens, I guess, to make food, or
I guess the chickens have to come before the eggs, right?
I mean, they're easier to find than the eggs.
And
Hooray.
fixing the lighthouse.
Maybe the chickens flew off with the lighthouse.
Ooh. You are rubbing off on me, Casey. Casey.
did they check across the road?
Ava.
Doc, was that a joke?
No, she went
The
and cracked
fire
herself up.
changed you.
Was that canonically Doc's first joke ever?
She's trying.
She's so social now, practically like a little extrovert.
I'm so proud of you. Now, who's coming with me to catch some chickens?
Isn't it super late at night and we need to go to sleep?
I mean, they'll be sleeping. It'll be much easier to catch.
You could listen for them in the morning, Casey.
Yeah. Yeah, they usually make sounds. Well, no, girl chickens.
Girl chicken.
Alternatively, your bobcat might murder them before the morning, so you could just get on it.
Did you really see? Do you know where a bobcat is?
Do you know what bobcat tracks look like? Maybe that's what you saw.
Can you draw bobcat tracks?
Sure. Seifrid like takes the front ball of her foot and stamps it into the earth, and then like and then just like draws longer talons on it.
No, this was different. Longer.
The talons or the toes?
Both.
Well, what about like this then? And then she'll sort of like step with her full foot into the track now out of experimentation and curiosity here.
Closer to the proportions, but bigger than that and more angular.
She like slides her foot to the side.
But like, the distance of your toes.
Okay. We'll start it. We'll start a new one.
That's not a bobcat track.
Was it a bear track?
No.
What if it was like a polar bear?
In this climate.
Maybe it was an Aranakis.
A what?
An Aranakis. Big old lizards used to roam around a long time ago. Maybe one just wandered back down out of the mountains, frozen in time, woke up.
I think we should just call it a Bigfoot for now.
Its feet are big, even compared to yours, Seifrid.
Aranakis. Are those real, Sal?
I've never seen one. Read about it in a book once.
Oh.
I just thought it'd be an interesting thought. Bobcats, bears, that's so mundane. And Aranakis, that'd be interesting.
Well, if we can find one, we can give it as a gift to your teacher.
Beth just whispers, I read that book.
Sal gives a smile and a nod.
There's another crack of one of the logs, more embers rise into the air. The fire started to dwindle a bit. You've kind of gone through most of the logs that you kind of planned to go through tonight. This is getting around the time when some of you might normally go to sleep, head home, unless you care to stay up.
If we are going to wait for tomorrow, we could, if we're going to go try to find the chickens, we could ask the Hunts if we could borrow one of their dogs, and they could help us try to find them. They might, if someone talks to them, loan us one of them.
They won't give one to me.
I don't know them, so I think I should just help a different way.
Who's our face character?
Sal is.
I thought that was you,
Sal.
Doc.
And Pete.
I probably also will be a little bit useful for that because I naturally have proficiency in performance and persuasion, so it'll probably end up being something I'm good at.
I'm just friendly in a normal way. But that's it.
So normal.
I feel like describing the way each of us is friendly would be a very funny exercise, actually.
Maybe one of you could talk to them tomorrow, and I think they like you guys, and you can talk pretty well.
I mean, I usually deliver their stuff on time-ish, so I could talk to them if you want.
Yeah. Okay.
I was going to help on the deliveries for tomorrow, so I can be there too to assist.
Yeah, that'll be good. Just kind of like, ooh, my foot. Ow.
Yeah. So as the group of you all begin to prepare to settle down for the night, Kabeth is able to walk with just a little bit of a limp. Let me have everyone roll another d20. This is another test of your characters, how perceptive you are.
Tonight, I'm very perceptive. Would I consider my character more popular?
I am not. Resetting didn't help. Spoiler alert.
It just reset you to be the one that gets the bad ones when you should have gotten the good ones after the series of bad ones.
I was slated to have like a slow ramp, and I reset it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Peach, are you able to do a roll? Did you already do a roll? I lost her.
Must Afkid.
Afkid.
Who's the next highest? Okay, yeah, we'll make a Kabeth. Well, it deals with you, so you don't count for this one. Kabeth, as you make that small limp away, people begin to move. You notice that when Araya steps away, she's been standing on a glowing coal for the last few minutes. Didn't seem to notice.
I've been what?
Whoa.
And that's
She doesn't
where,
think.
and that's where we'll end for tonight. Be a little short little session.
Oh.
That's good because I got to get up early. I'll stay up for a little while longer, but I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to peace out after persuading this person to give us something.
Yeah, I was in that boat too. I was like, wait, why did I agree to help with that?
Sorry, I was AFK for a
I
second. What
know
did I
these
just
people
say?
all-
Roll a d20. Just
You roll a d20?
for flavors.
We all
Yeah.
died.
Yeah, time to make new characters.
Oh,
Didn't miss nothing.
that's on to me.
Jess, why do you always play evil characters? I'm just
She is specifically evil-shaped good. Evil-shaped good person.
Jess wants so badly to join a cult.
Sure, start one.
She wants to start. Yeah, she wants to start one. Girl, I could connect you with people in cults. You have to spend about 2 weeks on Hinge in the Boston area.
I hear stories. I mean, I like hearing about cults so long as they're not like the killing kind.
Well, I'm not dead.
That's great, but which cult tried to hit you up?
Well, it's more a cult member was trying to hit me up.
No, but sometimes